For the past 4 years, Aussie YouTuber Karl Jobst was involved in a long, drawn-out lawsuit against alleged Donkey Kong champion, Billy Mitchell. The drama started when Karl released a series of videos challenging Billy's high scores and providing just enough evidence to prove that Billy had cheated his way to the top. Well, if there's one thing you need to know about Billy Mitchell, it's that he does not enjoy being called a cheater. Despite the fact that he's kind of been proven to be a cheater time and time again. But anyway, so Billy did the most American thing that anyone from the land of eagles and apple pie could do. He decided to sue Karl. But seeing how Karl lives in the land down under and Billy lives in Uncle Sam's backyard, this caused quite a delay in the proceedings. And in the meantime, Karl continued to release videos pertaining to what we believed were the trial. Karl delved more into Billy's other lawsuits and continued to provide more evidence about how Billy achieved his high scores through less than honorable means. The narrative that Karl painted was that Billy was suing him for defamation related to his reasonably debunked high scores.
So if a judge rules that Billy was exposed for cheating, this opinion will be cemented in writing and will carry a lot of weight. If Billy loses this lawsuit, the judge's opinion is going to be very damaging for him. And that's another reason why I think it was very stupid for Billy to have started these proceedings.
And for years, well, no one questioned it, as Billy had also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for the same thing, resulting in Billy winning that lawsuit and Apollo and Billy having to settle with one another. And Billy also sued other entities such as Twin Galaxies and Guinness World Records over them removing his high scores. And with Billy's lawsuits resulting in settlements or compromises, Karl made himself out to be the last hope for the gaming community. If he wasn't able to hold his own in court and come out victorious, then there was no justice left in this world. Karl had a tremendous amount of support from his fans, the gaming community, and even Notch, the creator of Minecraft, who fronted the cash for many of Karl's legal expenses. With Karl having all the evidence he needed to bury Billy and stand tall among the ones who failed, this was shaping up to be a slam dunk case.
All of his lawsuits have either been dismissed or settled. Note that Billy has never ever actually won. The only lawsuit Billy has remaining is the one against me. Am I really going to be the only person Billy wins against? Oh boy, wouldn't that just be hilarious.
And then the actual trial came. In September of 2024, the trial finally began. And once the proceedings commenced, fans of Karl, as well as myself, were shocked to learn that while Billy was suing Karl for defamation, this case wasn't about Karl calling Billy a cheater. This case was about Karl claiming that Billy was responsible for Apollo Legend's unfortunate suicide. In his original video, Karl said that Billy's lawsuit caused considerable financial hardship on Apollo Legend, and this was a contributing factor to his suicide. And while losing in court can be hard on anyone, it turns out that this was far from the truth that Karl believed it to be. While we may never know the true reasons for why Apollo chose to take his own life, it's been confirmed by people closest to him as well as his family that Billy was not one of those reasons. So was Karl just stringing us all along, trying to make us believe that this whole thing was about standing up for what's right, when in reality, he was in hot water for trying to paint Billy as the driving force behind Apollo unaliving himself? To put it simply, was it all a lie? Well, no, not exactly, but looking back, Karl wasn't exactly super transparent about what his lawsuit was really about. Or at least he wasn't able to tell us, as his lawyer had most likely told him to stay quiet. Karl was never shy or mum when it came to sharing any information he had on his ongoing lawsuit with Billy. With every video or tweet he could produce, he pretty much made it clear, at least to his audience, that this case was solely about Billy suing him for the claims about his high scores. Nothing more.
There is only one official complaint against me currently, and you know why that is? It's because Billy was either lying or changed his mind. I guess his legal threats ended up backfiring when I made my video saying he was going to sue me again, and I ended up getting a ton of support. Now he is pissed off because his scare tactic didn't work.
And there was no reason to doubt him. Karl had always been upfront and honest about his opinions and never shied away from saying what needs to be said. So why wasn't he upfront and honest about what this lawsuit was really about? Well, to answer that, we need to look back at the videos that Karl made about Billy suing him. When Karl originally stated that Billy was suing him, he claimed that Billy was suing him for defamation regarding the videos he made about him. And he also went on to say that Billy was suing him again, and that he was also suing him for an edited clip from the AVGN Transformers episode.
You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion? He could probably do it, so I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way. That's right, we're gonna cheat.
So there was no doubt that this case or cases were about defamation, but that wasn't the actual defamation that Billy was suing for. I've been using the word defamation a lot in this video, and just so we're clear, defamation is described as the act of making untrue statements about another which damages his or her reputation. Karl's video originally pointed a finger at Billy, claiming that his lawsuit is what led to Apollo's end. However, when Karl was told that this wasn't the case, he edited the video, removing the blame placed at Billy's feet, although he still chose to leave in the bits implying that Billy might have been responsible. Karl did fiddle with this for a bit, but his opinion on the matter was clear. He believed that Billy bullied Apollo into financial hardship, and that's what led him to end it all. While Karl and Billy do have their opinions on each other, and believe me, no one knows that better than Twitter, a court of law doesn't care about your feelings. They care about facts. And when it came time to display the facts, things weren't looking so good for Karl. Once the trial began, Karl shared his opinions on the matter and on Billy, but there was no denying that he couldn't produce any concrete proof that Billy was tied to Apollo's death. He had his theories and questioned Billy's character, but that was immaterial to the matter. The case eventually ended with the judge taking months to render a decision on the matter. When the judge finally awoke from his Odin sleep, he ultimately found judgment in favor of Billy. While he did find that Billy didn't have the best reputation and that many of his scores were certainly questionable, he found that Billy had no part in Apollo's death and that Karl's statements were indeed defamatory. Karl was then ordered to pay Billy a total of $350,000 Australian, or somewhere in the neighborhood of $220,000 American. In most of Karl's videos, in which he discussed the lawsuit, he claimed that the losing party, at least in Australia, would have to cover the winner's court fees. And in Karl's case, yeah, the judge also decided that he would have to cover Billy's court fees as well. At the moment, I can only imagine that Billy is finding a way to celebrate his victory, while Karl is left scatterbrained, not only trying to figure out how he's going to recover from this financially, but how he's going to salvage his reputation. As of the making of this video, Karl has come out and accepted his defeat, and has said that he's in the process of addressing the concerns around his court case. And while I don't know what he's going to say, it certainly seems like a step in the right direction. If anything, this shows that there's a fine line between how you might feel about a person versus the truth of what that person actually did. For example, in my most viewed video about State Agent High-Risk Funeral Escort and Tactical Weapons Officer Jeremy DeWitt, I made the claim that his brother Dylan was a registered sex offender, same as Jeremy. The bizarre thing in all this is that Jeremy actually has a brother, Dylan Vogt, whose criminal career is pretty much a mirror duplicate of Jeremy's, both of them having been arrested time and time again for police impersonation, and both are registered sex offenders, with Dylan getting caught in what was pretty much a TCAP sting. And I was wrong. So I made sure to address that in my follow-up video. In my last video, I claimed that Dylan Vogt, Jeremy's brother, was a registered sex offender. And I was wrong about that. About the registered part, mind you. Dylan is not actually on the registry. I guess his Oscar-worthy performance about his life being ruined over the life he was about to ruin was enough to melt the prosecutor's icy heart. Dylan was able to plead to the felony charges without having to actually register. So no, while he may not be a registered sex offender, he is every bit as much a sex offender as his brother or anyone else on that list. And if you don't believe me, go watch his interrogation video. He is literally no different from anyone else who got caught on TCAP. Overall, while I feel that Dylan is no different than anyone else who's on the RSO list, I have no business labeling him as an RSO, even though I still believe that he would have ruined a child's life had he not been caught. All I know is that Karl needs to be very careful moving forward. This may not have been the victory he thought it would be, but this is definitely his Tylenol moment. If he doesn't do right by his fans, then his brand is dead. And so is everything he ever built. If he omits, lies, or hides anything else from here on out, then in some ways, he may be no better than the people featured on his own channel. As for Billy, he may have won his lawsuit and been awarded the damages he felt were owed to him, but in my opinion, Billy, no amount of money is going to fix the damage he caused to his own reputation. Nowadays, it feels like his name is more synonymous with the lawsuits he's filed over his scores, rather than the actual scores themselves. If Billy wants to prove that he's the best, then he should do that with a live video game match, not a lawsuit. If he's willing to fight for his scores in a courtroom, then I can only imagine how unstoppable he'll be in an actual toe-to-toe, joystick-to-joystick competition. Billy might be on top for now, but in the end, he needs to decide what he wants to be remembered for. His days as a champion, or his days in court.